Breaking news, new fallout for Durham Public Schools amid pay controversy. When the chief financial officer plans to step down. Plus, a Dunkin' Donuts employee shot on the job.
There was something going on that day that wasn't normal.
Hear from a witness who helped apply pressure to the victim's wound.
From showers to isolated storms, we could see both this weekend. I'll outline hour by hour how much rain could fall where you live.
WRAL is the only local news station inside an event for First Lady Joe Biden's visit to North Carolina. We take you inside and share her message to voters as election season gets underway.
How about this weather to end the week? If you didn't know any better, you'd think it was springtime. After last week's bitter cold, we got a big warm up. Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Dan Haggerty.
And I'm Ashley Rowe. Yes, 74 in Raleigh. 80 in Fayetteville. That's a record. And the warmth also brought along some rain, and we do expect that to continue this weekend.
The WRAL meteorologist Kat Campbell in the Severe Weather Center. Kat, it'll be wet, but not a washout entirely.
Not a total washout, so you should be able to get outside if you need to, especially early in the day tomorrow. So here's the setup that we're working with. We've got this front, and this is kind of going to act like a highway for this area of low pressure and all this Gulf moisture to push into North Carolina as we head into the weekend. For tomorrow and Sunday, both days will feature a chance for rain, perhaps a thunderstorm very early Sunday morning. High temperatures will be in the mid-60s, but rain chances are much lower tomorrow morning compared to tomorrow night. We'll gradually see those chances going up throughout the day. So let's take a look at Futurecast to help you plan your weekend. Tomorrow morning, a cloudy start, about a 20% chance of some drizzle or mist, and that chance goes up to about 30% during the afternoon. You can see it's not a washout, though. It's spotty light rain, and then as we get into tomorrow night, that's when we begin to see the bulk of the rain arrive. It could be heavier at times tomorrow night, and that could even come with a rumble of thunder into early Sunday morning. This is 6 a.m. Sunday, a wet start to the day. 8 a.m. we still have some showers sticking around, but we should see some improvements later on in the day Sunday. Then comes the colder air, and I'll have a closer look at when temperatures are back to normal for January coming up.
All right, you bet. Thanks, Kat.
One person is in custody, another recovering after being shot inside a Dunkin' Donuts in Chapel Hill. We're talking about this one right on East Franklin Street. Sky 5 flew over the scene this afternoon. WRAL's Monica Casey spoke with a woman who helped the victim, police telling us the victim and suspect were employees.
Chapel Hill police were on scene at this Dunkin' Donuts for more than 2 hours today. Employees here tell me they'll be closed the rest of the day.
When Winifred Monahan Penn got her coffee this afternoon, she tells me things inside this Dunkin' Donuts were tense.
There was something going on that day that wasn't normal.
It was when she was right outside on the phone that everything unfolded.
I heard yelling, and then the cop showed up, and then there was two African-American guys at the door in a headlock.
Monahan Penn was in the right place at the right time to help as a nurse. She tells me she went back inside and applied pressure to the gunshot wound on the leg of a young woman.
She was young, and she wanted to call her mom. Her phone was dead. We was able to get her to call her mom, and, we just talked to her, and, she was scared.
Her past experience made a difference.
Did trauma in my early years up in Boston City Hospital, so.
Did you feel like that training just snapped right back into place?
A little bit, yeah.
Chapel Hill police tell us they have one person in custody related to this incident. The victim who was shot had non-life-threatening injuries. Monica Casey, WRAL News in Chapel Hill.
The chief financial officer for Durham Public Schools is stepping down. Dr. Paul LeSueur submitted his resignation earlier this afternoon. The district wrote in a statement, the resignation will be effective January 31st. LeSueur worked for DPS for 13 years. It has been a chaotic week for the district. Just last night, employees rallied outside the school board meeting, upset about ongoing salary problems. The board voted to let workers keep any overpayments. There is an investigation underway to figure out how the district even got to this point.
Well, the First Lady of the United States, Joe Biden, visited North Carolina today. She stopped by Forsyth Tech in the Triad and then went to a fundraiser in North Raleigh at someone's home at a private residence. WRAL's Aaron Thomas was the only reporter allowed inside. So given that you were the only reporter there, Aaron, give us an update. What did the First Lady talk about? What was her message today?
Yeah, so we'll break this all down. So to be clear, the White House, they did not allow us to take any photos, any video. We could not record any audio, but we were there as the First Lady, Joe Biden, spoke for about 12 minutes in this neighborhood off of Lassiter Mill Road near North Raleigh. There was a crowd of about 90 people that all crammed inside of this kitchen. This is where she talked about how competitive this state is, and it's the Biden-Harris's goal to flip North Carolina blue. For anybody that's from North Carolina, this state has not voted for a Democratic president since 2008. I wanted to show you these photos. This is actually when First Lady Biden was speaking at a event and at Forsyth Technical Community College. That's over in Winston-Salem today. She was talking about the economic policies that are helping North Carolinians and Americans. Once she finished her speech there, that's when she flew into RDU Airport and took a motorcade to this Raleigh neighborhood. During her speech here, she mentioned the competitive nature of North Carolina, adding how her husband, President Biden, was 1 point away from winning the state in 2020. She also urged the attendees to take into account the stakes of this election, saying how, quote, democracy is on the line. Tonight I interviewed Laura Leslie. She's the WRAL North Carolina Capitol Bureau Chief about the impact and significance of the First Lady's visit to the Tar Heel State today.
Jill Biden has been around quite a bit. She is a great spokesperson for her husband, very warm. Communicates really well with people, and people seem to like her. I mean, she's a former teacher, so I mean, I think that comes through when you hear her talk. So she's an effective advocate for him, and I suspect we'll be seeing a lot of her as this campaign season goes on.
Yeah, and Laura added that this is just beginning, as we know that North Carolina is such a competitive battleground state for both parties. On our late news, actually going to have response from the North Carolina Democratic Party as well as the North Carolina GOP. Dan?
Yeah, this certainly won't be the last time there's a motorcade pulling through North Carolina, Aaron. Thank you.
The Raleigh City Council wants to put new limits in place for public comment. This comes after hundreds of Palestinian supporters packed council meetings over the last couple of months calling for a ceasefire in Gaza. Council talked about this during their retreat today. The council allows public comment twice a month. The way it works is each speaker gets 3 minutes, but that goes down to 1 minute when too many people sign up. Council members say they want a more predictable system.
We're creating an environment where there are people who need to come talk to us about things who feel intimidated, and then they turn around and walk away.
As somebody who was a big proponent of public comment before I came on council, I want to make sure that residents know we do want to hear their voice and we want to hear their input.
Today, council agreed to set a maximum time of 2.5 or 3 hours for public comment meetings. They're also looking at creating a tiered system of time per comment based on how many people sign up.
The town of Scotland Neck has a new idea for curbing youth crime there. Give them something else to do. The town wants this site to become a Boys and Girls Club. The building on Main Street has been empty there for years. Yolanda Evans bought it and has a dream now to transform it into a place for young people. She told WRAL that she hopes the proposal brings a little life to the building and helps fix a problem.
The first thing I look at when I moved into any town, what do you have for youth? Scotland Neck need this. Can you all help me, please, get a facility that will help our young people?
A call for action there. Evans is currently looking for ways to fund the project. As you can tell, we have a link for her GoFundMe page for this project on our website.
6 months from now, the Olympic flame will light in Paris. You know, athletes from our area are vying for a spot to compete at the highest level. Among them, a familiar name, Claire Curzan from Kerry. The 18-year-old took a silver medal home from Tokyo back in 2021. Since then, she set an American record in the 50-meter backstroke. Curzan says she is more confident than ever.
But I think just going through the process of the Olympics, being exposed to being around all of like the greats in swimming, has helped me like A, get more comfortable with them, and B, realize that, you know, at some point I kind of reached their level as well.
Her next challenge is the World Aquatics Championship in Doha, Qatar. She says that that's her focus right now before heading to the Olympic trials in June. She's actually 19 years old, and her birthday is also in June. So June's a big month for her.
Oh, yeah, it's going to be. How exciting. Somebody from Kerry, that's our neck of the woods.
I know.
I'm excited about that. So in many cases these days, the best TV shows, the biggest games, they're only available to folks who have an internet connection. So who's missing out here? What does it mean for the people out there who need the internet? Also, for something more than just Netflix. We're going to go in depth.
We are also going into the WRAL archive. 20 inches of snow 24 years ago. A blast from the past just ahead.
So maybe you saw the Oscar nominations came out this week, and I thought, perfect. What better time to talk about the Emmys? Stay with me. This isn't a story about award season snubs or putting fake names on entries. Looking at you, ESPN. No, this is a story about access, about internet access. You see, a handful of the big shows that ran away with most of the awards last week, like Succession on Max, which is HBO, and The Bear on Hulu. A show called Beef on Netflix won a ton of awards. Kind of surprisingly, The Last of Us on Max and Ted Lasso from Apple TV, they didn't win anything. That's what everybody was talking about. I mean, they're all great shows, all of them. And they're all on streaming services. In fact, if you look at the main categories like Best Drama, Best Comedy, and the Best Actor and Actress in those categories, of those 37 nominations, only 2 shows can be seen without the internet. Abbott Elementary on ABC and Better Call Saul on AMC. For everything else, you need an internet connection and a subscription. I mean, think of it this way. If you wanted to watch all the shows that were up for those major awards in those major categories, you'd need subscriptions to Disney Plus, HBO Max, Apple TV, Showtime, Hulu, Amazon Prime Video, and Netflix, not to mention the internet service you have to pay for. If you do the math on that, that's nearly $145 per month if you want to stay up on pop culture and know why this was one of the top Halloween costumes last year. But affordability isn't the only barrier to knowing who Carmi is. It's also accessibility. Here's an example. I got a call recently from a viewer named Susan. She called me at my desk. People do that sometimes. I know I always tell you to email me at dan@WRAL.com, but calling me works too. I spend a lot of time at my desk, and I like to talk to viewers about the stuff that's going on in their lives if I have the time. Susan wanted to talk about one of my Duke Energy stories, and she said something that really stuck with me. She said, when it comes to service, we're literally at the end of the line. You see, Susan lives in Wayne County, right near the border with Sampson County. She called me on a landline that day. If she wants strong cell service, she has to drive into town, into the big city of Newton Grove. The population there, 565 people. While her cell service is spotty, when we spoke, her internet connection was non-existent. According to the state, 98% of North Carolina has available internet, which sounds kind of like a lot. But in a state of 10 million people, that remaining 2% equals about 200,000 people with no internet options at all, and even more without reliable broadband. And you know, the standard nowadays isn't reliable internet. It's this.
High-speed internet, affordable, high-speed internet.
When he wasn't snacking on Cookout milkshakes, high-speed internet was one of President Biden's main talking points during his visit here to Raleigh last week. He talked about how North Carolina, frankly, needs more of it because we're lacking. Last month, Successful Farming magazine, they profiled a working farm about 30 minutes outside of Charlotte with spotty connection, the owner saying they're cut off from the world. And that's not hyperbole. He's not talking about Netflix. Modern farming needs high-speed internet. It's all done with computers. Just this week, John Deere signed a deal with SpaceX to connect farmers directly with satellites. Internet's not a luxury. It's a necessity, and it's been that way for a long time. The internet is how farmers manage their crops. It's how we access our healthcare portal after a doctor's appointment. It's how our kids do homework, how we sign up for Medicaid, and apparently, it's how we watch the playoffs now. Recently, the very first NFL playoff game was shown exclusively on a streaming service, Peacock.
The most streamed event of any kind in the U.S.
Now, while those guys were popping champagne over the record viewership, the phones at WRAL were popping off a little differently. Our viewers were less enthusiastic, you could say. You see, even if people have access to broadband, that doesn't mean they can afford it. If we look at that state data, again, of the 98% of people who have access, only 71% are actually using it. It's simply too expensive for a huge part of our population, many of whom remember when TV used to be free. Sure, they showed commercials, but it was free. You just needed those little rabbit ears on top of your TV, and you got all the football games until cable.
I'm ready for some football. Are you?
In 2006, ESPN took over Monday Night Football, showing the first game that required a cable subscription, meaning for the first time, if you wanted to understand Tuesday's water cooler conversation, there was a paywall. Over the next 4 years, it paid off. Cable subscriptions nearly quadrupled. But the internet, well, it's not like cable, is it? It's a little different. It's about more than Emmy shows or the big game. The internet could be the difference between being employed and unemployed, which is why the government has been shelling out billions to expand accessibility and affordability, like ACP, or Affordable Connectivity Program. This gives qualified families a discount of up to $30 a month on their internet service. But get this part. Only 35% of eligible people in our state, in North Carolina, have even signed up. It's been around since 2021, and if you read the screen closely there, the enrollment deadline is less than a month away. Now, if you do click on how to apply, the very first thing it does is it shows you how to apply online with a video that you need to stream online. Is it ironic that the government is using the internet as a primary avenue to help people who don't have the internet? Yeah, it is. Not to mention, the program is nearly out of money. And when that happens, everyone who did sign up will have their bills jacked up to full price. But it makes me think about all of it. Susan in Wayne County, the Emmys, the NFL, cable TV. Will commercialism, will these dollars and culture, pop culture, help drive the expansion of the internet to Susan's house and everywhere else? Or are we being gouged by companies that treat internet access like a luxury instead of a utility? Let me know what you think. Hit me up. I'm working on a lot of stories right now about affordability, so email me, dan@WRAL.com. Or if you don't have internet access, there's that phone number that Susan used. Give me a call. Ask for Dan Haggerty. Tell me what's on your mind, and we'll go in depth.
For those of us who have access to internet, it's something that we take for granted.
It is.
And yet there are so many people who are still dealing without. It's incredible.
Well, hopefully they can take advantage of those programs and they get access soon. Meteorologist Kat Campbell joining us now. We all have access to some pretty warm weather tonight.
We do. We all have access to these warm temperatures outside. Take a look at Goldsboro, still with the lights up. It looks beautiful outside tonight. The Whirligig Park in Wilson settling down, not as windy. In Apex, you can see some folks going by on this nice evening. And a live look from Top of the Hill Restaurant in Chapel Hill. People are out and about. A lot of college students out enjoying this nice weather tonight. If you're going to head out tonight, you shouldn't need to bring a jacket with you. 65 at 9 o'clock, by 11 o'clock, still 63. I think that will be pretty dry tonight weather-wise. But we do have all this moisture in the Gulf and an area of low pressure developing over Texas, and that's going to bring some rain our way over the weekend. So enjoy this while you can tonight. It's going to be one of the nicest windows of time this weekend. Can't rule out a little bit of drizzle tomorrow morning, a little bit of rain. It's about a 20% chance with this front nearby. As we get into the afternoon, a 30% chance, and then the better chance for rain will come late tomorrow evening into tomorrow night ahead of this cold front. That could also bring some heavier rain our way, even a rumble of thunder overnight into Sunday morning. The bulk of the rain Sunday will come in the morning with some spotty showers possible during the afternoon. You see these twin low pressure systems here. This is the main one. This is where the low pressure is. It's a little offset in the upper levels of the atmosphere, so it'll move through a little bit later in the day. That could generate a few sprinkles here, but some snow in the North Carolina mountains where they will desperately need some more snow after the warm weather that they've been experiencing this week. The ski resorts are going to need some of that snow, even if it doesn't amount to much. For us, we're back to normal behind this system. It's a cold front that passes on Sunday, so of course we're going to cool down behind it. 2 more days with highs in the 60s, not as warm as we were this week, but as we get into next week, highs are going to be in the low to mid 50s. Still a degree or two above normal, but not by much. We'll be closer to normal, a lot closer to normal than our temperatures today, which were more than 20 degrees above normal for this time of year. But let's talk long range. I told you about this for the past couple of days, that we were seeing signs of cooling mid to late February. That was confirmed today with the new outlook from the Climate Prediction Center. They're also agreeing below normal temperatures in the southeast mid to late February. So if you're not a fan of this exceptionally warm January weather, winter is not over yet. And precipitation outlook not showing signs either way, so keep that in mind, snow lovers. Temperatures in the mid 60s for the weekend. We're back down to freezing by Tuesday morning. We will have a chance for some rain on Wednesday, and then some more freezing mornings on the way late next week.
All right, Kat, thank you. It has now been 24 years since 20 inches of snow fell on our area. Up next, we go into the WRAL archive to show you the sights and sounds from that week.
Before we go, we're going to take a little dive into the WRAL archive.
Yeah, we're going back 24 years. 24 years ago this week, when a storm dumped 20 inches of snow in our area. Look at this. The video looks like something you'd see out of the Northeast, not North Carolina. Canceled classes, cleared out grocery store shelves, highways turned into parking lots. We looked through our coverage from that week in the year 2000 and found this story from Bill Leslie.
20 inches of snow, 20 inches. It grounded planes and stranded travelers.
Trying for about 3 days now to get out of here.
Terrible. I tell you what, it doesn't matter whether it's Denver or North Carolina, it's still a pain.
I've been all over everywhere for the last 3 days trying to get to Raleigh.
Nowhere to go.
Interstate 85, a parking lot. Trucks jackknifed and blocked the highway.
Trucks were piled up for about 10 miles is what they was telling us.
I've been here almost 24 hours, and I haven't gone 2 miles.
City roads were slick too. In this snow, drivers were just spinning their wheels.
It's just too slick. Just too slick.
All the ice canceled classes, kids out of school for more than a week. One messy, miserable, memorable month. A record snow to remember.
This is hopefully a once-in-a-lifetime event.
Has been so far. How about that last shot of the car? Just a reminder, it was 80 degrees today.
Yeah, exactly. Thanks for making WRAL your choice for local news.
Have a great night and a great weekend.
Keep watching WRAL News over the air Channel 34 and Spectrum Channel 1257.